This is Yerushalmi Peah Daf Kaf Ches, and the Art Scroll Odes V'Hada edition, and in the Vilna, it's Tetzvav Amarav. Um, you know, let's start from the bottom of Chav Ches Chav Zayin base right after the Mishnah, which is right after the Mishnah, also in Tetzvav Amarav on in the Vilna. And the Gemara starts. Tani, we have Bryce that says Amiru Chai B'Chles or Chai B'Sol. Similar to what it said at the beginning of our Mishnah. Machlik b'tzalachim lashum kain v'shel gorin. Let's pay elu atzmam elu me'atzmam. So here it seems also chai b'tchas chai b'sof means two separate stages, like there was shuk and gorin. Eitan miru. What is miru? How's it do? Is it different than our Mishnah? Or maybe here kadar nina machlik b'tzal lachim lashuk and kain v'shel gorin. So it sounds like it's mamish what it says in our Mishnah. The brisa miru is identical with the Mishnah, which is a bit difficult because, because then what's the price adding on the Mishnah? But the Kavan Naki wants to say that what it's adding on is that the Hadat Nala Mishnah Seinu Lashuk Lav Dafka. In other words, it's not necessarily talking about the marketplace, the early harvest of the marketplace, but rather anytime you have two distinct stages, you get payah from each one separately. Rabbi Yossi said, Haden Kitzcha. No, it's something else. It is an onion seed. And what he's saying is that Rabbi Yossi's arguing. Is saying basically what we just said. If the shot in Miru Gazar Yirmiyah, that's exactly what Mishnah is saying. What's the chiddush? So he says that rather the idea is that when you plant onions, first you plant them very close together, and they come up like grasses. This is really from the Rash Cirilio and Shai Terzi. So explain similarly, they come out like short grasses, thin grasses, and then you plant them afterwards at a greater expanse between each one and in order, and that's called miruk. They remove them from their place in order to replant them in a more expansive way. So machlik our Mishnah is where, according to the Rash Cirilio shot here, that's when you pluck it out of the ground. You're not going to put it back in. But here, the plucking is one which you're going to put back in. So it's going to tell us that if you eat from them or harvest them in order to eat them when they are closely packed together, it's chayv and peah at that time. And if you certainly at the end, after you replant them, you harvest at that time, it's chayv and peah at that time. So this is again, Amrei Yossi, I think Kitzcha, these onion seeds, can add zara lay when you plant them initially. It makes this very like a green onion type thing, I guess. A very thin grass thing. Karat shasle, then you pluck it out of the ground, and your shasal, which is the language used not for seeds but for bulbs, which are now small bulbs, will have a batzarav. It makes a large onion because you gave more space. So so therefore, there's two separate stages. If you're going to eat from the thin grasses, again, I guess it's like a scallion or a chive at that point. So then you have to give a set pay at that point. So it says Gemara, locate man on me. What will you say if that? What's the alternative? What Rabbi Yossi is saying? Why is the brayso chiddush? However, zero potter. Do you think will we say that since you're going to replant them, your primary intent is to replant these in the ground, that you therefore should be potter and pay at this stage if you decide to eat them at this stage? That seems to be potter. That's not the case. Mina peah again. However, is really potter. Mina peah. You put them in a peah. Sorry, we're going to put them from peah. The chitin lavas riahin. Do we not have something similar with chitim? These grasses are like chitim. They're like stalks. So why should they be potter? It would seem that this is the same thing. And in fact, wheat has a similar idea in that You replant some of these kernels, obviously, to grow your next generation of wheat. So what's the difference between the onions when they're harvested, when they're thin grasses, and wheat, which is harvested as a grass, and both of them have intent to be planted? So my answer is, I'll tell you, it's simple. Chitin ruban lachila. When you harvest grain, most of the grain is going to eat, because you're going to take a few seeds and plant over again. The overwhelming majority of seeds is stuff you're going to eat. So therefore, that's why I would say chitim rechayev and peah. That rubel is real, but here most of the thin grasses of onions you pluck out, you're going to put back in the ground in order to grow to become bigger onions. So therefore, I would say that the few that you take off, the chorus should be parted from peah. That's what has to tell us that you're chayev in peah nonetheless. Uh, uh, Adai to Rabbi Yirmiyah. According to Rabbi Yirmiyah, ask Gemara, Yerek chayev bepeah. It seems that Yerek is liable in peah. Um, the because at the earlier stage, when it's still when you're harvesting it when it's moist, it's still a vegetable. In other words, at that point, it's not hard and it can't be kept in a warehouse. That's why you start bringing them to the shuk to sell right away, because it can't be stockpiled. So the now the Sharitar Yisrael and the Kabbalah is similar. They take out the words here, Mino Machnis Lukim, and they substitute the words in the next line, Gomru ve'ena mechus el yavesh, and that's the answer. The answer is no, 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 no. It's really Gomor. It's not that it's not a royal Achnis Lukim. It's the type of a vegetable, the onion, your Machnis Lukim. Just at this stage, it's Chaser Yivush, but that doesn't mean it's a different type of vegetable. It's not a different species. So, okay, so that's the answer. Ma'avid le Rabbi Yossi. According to Rabbi Yossi, what's the pshat? You're not going to dry them. You're replanting them, right? So therefore, it's not. It should be completely completely separate vegetable. Whatever the grass is, than the finished onion. So this Gemara nevertheless mino magnis l'kium. It's part of the greater onion family of its min. Even though at this stage you can't be magnis l'kium, and you won't be magnis l'kium, and you're not going to dry them, and they're not because of just drying because you're going to plant them. Nevertheless, they're part of the min of onions, and therefore they are considered to be chayav and peah. Says more further. Tani, leket comes from your the other one of the other matnos that which slips out of your hand is only when you're being kotzer. Leket tzirchov lo leket kuf, not when you're plucking stalks out of the ground. This is harvesting, presumably is with a scythe, and this is when you're plucking with your hand. It's also somebody who's gathering stalks for his dough. Afilu koshu. Now here koshu doesn't mean a little bit; it means a lot. No matter how much it is, patim and is exempt from peah because it's not really considered to be a true ketzira. Lesson afilu b'magal. My blood goes on to say, even if you're using a scythe, it's still not considered to be a true ketzira, and therefore at that point you're still patim from peah. Rabbi Yossi said, "For who shashir?" Well, you'll have to leave something in the field, evidently for peah later on. Otherwise, the fact that you're gathering just for your dough at the moment is not enough of a reason to pater. I guess it's not. We don't let you do our Rama basically. You can't say that. Oh yeah, well I'm just gathering all this immediately for my to use right now in my dough. None of it is really for stockpiling later on. No, doesn't matter. So now the more asks a question from a brisa. This brisa seems to be Meshubash a bit, and Kavanaki brings down the better version of it. But Tani didn't learn Chamesh Gafanim Ubitsaran Ubichnisog Beso. You didn't actually do real butzer here. It wasn't real harvest, but you were taking it into your house, meaning that you're not going to do a press now. You're taking it just to eat off the cuff, a little bit at a time. So, patamina parrot, you're exempt from parrot Peret is the individual grapes that fall during the harvest that are not allowed to be gathered by the owner of the vine. That since that's only the time of the true harvest. Uminashikha, the stuff which you forgot on the tree. Umina peah, you're exempt from peah. You'll be peah because you're just so to speak snacking. Umina ravai, ravai means it would not have to be redeemed even though it's the fourth year. But the just like the Moshe and the Kamanaki take out Orla because Orla is also by law. There's no way you can get around Orla just because you're snacking. So to Ravai, it seems it's a little bit difficult how you can be exempt from redeeming the Ravai just because you're snacking. For Chaim Olos, it's Chaim Olos, which are the incompletely formed grape clusters, which no grapes hang from the tip of the central stem, and the grapes on the side stems apart from the central stem do not lie on one another. So that is that you're Chaim because that is Parhik Nishum Shamayim. They're already designated by Kodesh Baruch Hu specifically for the poor people. So in any event, here it's, in the previous brisa, Rabbi Yossi says Bushishir. Right, you have to make sure to leave some over. Here it doesn't say Bushishir. Why not? So it says more. Rabbi Yonah said Kam B'Gemuros. The the wheat where you're plucking the wheat, it was fully mature, and therefore since it's fully mature, it's already suitable for kotzir, and therefore you have to leave some over to fulfill. And it's a pay at the time kotzir. Kam She'ena Gemuros. Here, they're not the grapes are not fully formed. And so it's not fully formed, so therefore you you don't have to leave over any as long as you're not fully mature. You don't have to leave anything over as long as you're snacking. You can take as many as you want. So that is one possibility of distinguishing between the two things, between the wheat and the grain, between the wheat and the grapes. Rabbi Yosef said, "A few tema kama gemuros, kama sheni gemuros." You can say they're both about both about gemuros, fully mature, about ena gemuros, not fully mature. Kansha bikesh le'ochlon anovim. Here we're talking about where in the latter brayso, so we want to eat them as grapes. I don't want to make them wine. But here Shabikesh la'asoison, here it says the Gemara yain, but that seems to be a typo. The Sharatori so changed it to Isa, which obviously because it's talking about the other Bryce, it's not talking about grapes. It's talking about wheat. But if the Girsa was wine, it would mean, in other words, because you're going to make an end product with it. So therefore, it's tantamount to having wine to make it wine, and product being the Isa. So therefore, since it's you intend to make an end product with it, so the Rabbi said it's too far along to let you just get off the hook altogether. Therefore, you have to make sure to be Mishire and do Peah and whatever you're Mishire. I see the girl also changed it to Esau, so good company. Oh, maybe it's with. Maybe that's the word Osa after here, which really doesn't, in context, doesn't really fit. Maybe that really should be Esau and take out the word Yain. Rasul takes out the word Osa, and maybe that's actually the word which is supposed to be Esau. Could be. So says the Gemara, Hada Yafa Mina Hiva, He Yafa Mina Da. They both these scenarios learn from each other. Hada Yafa Mina Shebika Shasosa Melilos. When you are actually taking the wheat, not in order to make a dough, but to snack on them, to rub them in your fingers and pop it into your mouth. So that if you little shear, then you don't have to leave anything over because it's not yet. You're not doing anything which is a gemar malacha yet. But he offered me nadah, and conversely, we have the case of the wine, the grapes. Learns out for the case of the wheat. Ishim bikeshla. So senyai, if you're ready at the stage of making the end product, even if you're taking it little by little, hushashir, you have to leave something over in order to actually take payoff from the at the end of the process. And I think that brings us to the end of the base. Yes, precisely. That's at the end of the moment. We will stop here, therefore, for today.